my camera on. I cut my fingers on the way I'm slipping away.
It's a toll on the physicians, and it's a huge toll on the hospitals.
They're not too sure, very suspicious.
Police don't help. Oftentimes, us as Hispanics say, why bother?
This is someone that has had access before and had current access that got in.
Will bury you. It will put your life in the dirt.
BLM is taking the lead on this fire here in the wetlands area, which is, we're just a couple hundred yards away from it right now.
You can see the car is wrapped around a pole, just split into pieces. Police tell us that was a 1992 BMW.
Neighbors saw smoke around 10 o'clock tonight and called it in.
The driver was headed northbound. You can see the spray paint from the investigation here when police say he lost control, slammed into the bus stop, and hit the mother and her 2 kids.
You guys heard of Periscope or use it? Hey, you guys ever heard of Periscope?
Twitter's Periscope live streaming app is so new. When we tried to talk to college students about it, we got a lot of blank stare.
Tammy Meyer's loved ones insist she was protecting her family and that her son is a hero.
A lot of people we talked with tonight talking about this chilly weather.
Information about a stolen credit card used to buy a pool table here helped lead police to a guy they were looking for.
I've never seen anything like that.
Neighbors described the scene as chaos when this trailer went up in flames.
Hey, fire, run.
A fire captain says the Clark County Fire Department doubled up on manpower.
Right behind Good job, guys.
Because of the 90-plus degree weather.
Oh, they were brave. They're right there.
Still, the double-wide mobile home is destroyed.
The fire was so huge. I mean, it was all the way at the top of the palm trees.
Donna Roderick says she just bought a home here down the block.
Makes me want to sell right away.
Experts say more people die in fires in structures like these compared to other types of homes.
If there was people in there, it very easily wouldn't have been able to get out alive. There wasn't time. It was, I've never seen nothing like that before, ever. I've never seen anything like that.
Everyone here made it out safely.
Firemen, yeah.
And the people living here were reunited with at least 2 of their pets.
Did you see the big fire, Jimmy?
Roderick, a mother of 3, says she just installed a fire alarm.
Even having that, my house will go up in minutes. It literally took minutes.
Yeah, we need to clean them a little bit.
It's one of Metro Police Department's most powerful tools right now. A binder packed with information for students who signed up for this year's Hispanic Citizens Academy.
These are the binders that they use or will be using for the material.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Police say they want to build a stronger relationship with the Hispanic community. Officer David Cienega has taught the class for several years. On night 1, he knows a lot of the students come to class hesitantly.
A lot of them come in with, they're not too sure, very suspicious, very pessimistic about what we have going on.
And sure enough, many came quiet and timid to class, not sure what to expect, like Rafaela Nevares. She's a single mother with 2 jobs, but despite her busy schedule and skepticism about police, she signed up for the class.
That's why I came to figure out and learn more on how police work and the benefits we also have.
She wanted to know what police do to keep her neighborhood safe. Over the next several weeks, police worked with students like Nevares to tackle tough issues. Problems like domestic violence that aren't often talked about in Hispanic homes, even among adults.
How many times have we heard, where's the police? They never do anything. Well, I tell people, you're right. If nobody calls us, we're not going to do anything because we don't know about it.
As weeks passed, students like Nevares finally opened up. She says if you hear neighbors fighting, calling the police isn't always something you want to do.
Because of fear, or maybe authorities aren't going to help you out. The police don't help. Oftentimes, us as Hispanics say, why bother calling if they're not going to do anything about it?
There is that big hesitation because oftentimes people aren't sure about what's going to happen once police show up. Officer Cienega tells students police are only out to get the bad guys. For Nevares, who has friends that have been abused at home and haven't spoken up, she won't tolerate it anymore.
The important thing I have learned is that if you see something, you have to say something. It's important to say something.
Now willing to speak up and make sure police help where it's needed most in her community.
Someone's had a file telling you I happened. That was 13.
A revelation made in flight. Evan Grant is accused of stealing an airplane after he learned he was a suspect in a child sexual assault case.
All that's waiting for me down there is somewhere between 10 and 30 years in prison.
Police say the 27-year-old man had been drinking alcohol and threatened to kill himself, but a former coworker at the airport talked him out of it during the flight. The investigator called Grant a danger to himself and others, flying a plane at 12,000 feet, circling the Las Vegas Valley. Consider the many residents and visitors during fight weekend.
I was glad to hear he got down on the ground safe.
Daryl Governale knew Grant and works at the North Las Vegas airport. We asked him about security.
This is someone that has had access before and had current access that got in. This is not to show that, Joe Citizen off the street can come in, steal an airplane, and endanger, people or property.
He showed us. Code is needed to enter, which Grant had.
He has been vetted. He went through much more than this.
And for access to a plane.
And what we'll need is a photo ID from each one of you and a release sign.
So pilots, if they want to borrow a plane, have to go through this?
Pilots that want to take a plane by themselves have to go through a much more rigorous process.
Grant was an experienced pilot with clearance here. Then a thorough check of the aircraft, all to take off safely.
So you can see it's quite a process before you even take off.
A visit from Grant here normally wouldn't be cause for concern, but police say he didn't have permission to use the aircraft early Saturday. Take that and the threat that was his last flight, and it caused worry on the ground.
I'm never going to get to do this again.
DC to home. Pager, give me that. Bouncing right.
Take a close look at the video and listen to the lyrics.
It's like my 10-3 admission.
R. Kelly's Ignition remix
But I thought a CHF patient
becomes Z-Dog's Readmission.
There's the sun. I'm like, so what? He's won.
When he's not rapping parodies.
Yeah, so this is one of our osteopathic manipulation rooms.
Zubin Damania is practicing medicine.
The coolest room in the place is our yoga studio.
He runs Turntable Health, a medical clinic in downtown Las Vegas.
We all need to work together to make the system better.
Bounce, 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 bounce.
This is his way.
Bounce, 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 back.
A hospital readmission is when a patient who just left the hospital returns.
We call them bounce backs.
The national average for patients who are readmitted within 30 days is less than 16%. In Las Vegas, it's more than 17%.
It's a toll on the patient, it's a toll on the physicians, and it's a huge toll on the hospitals.
Dr. Dale Carrison, who runs UMC's emergency department, says hospitals are getting penalized because Medicare will not reimburse for patients readmitted for the same illness or disease. He calls readmissions a complex problem.
The physician needs to make certain that they've given the patients the appropriate medications. The hospital needs to explain to the patient why they need to take those medications, and then the patient needs to get the medications and take them.
Girl, we up on this wall.
Damania's, or Z-Dog's, video has gone viral.
To the unit now.
He's hoping the many views, more than 1 million in just a couple of weeks, will mean that many will work toward finding a solution.
Okay, let's just prevent readmissions. Thanks.
Hi, we're with the American Red Cross. My name's Jennifer. We are just canvassing today.
Red Cross volunteer Jennifer Hansen is on a mission.
Yay, love it when I can talk to people.
She knows there's a lot of homes.
Moving right along. A lot of people we found aren't home.
And not a lot of time.
Yeah, these are homes we hit this morning.
Because behind each door, there's a life that could be at risk.
Do you have a smoke detector in the home? Well, today we're going to be heading down Upland Avenue and taking it around to Harmony and ultimately back down to Mayflower.
The plan is to pound the pavement in an area plagued by poverty near Jones and the 95. Basic essentials around here are a luxury for some, and that includes a working smoke detector.
Fires affect people in different ways, and fire also doesn't know socioeconomic boundaries. It can happen to anybody.
The Red Cross says every 19 hours, on average, a family is touched by fire in the valley. Outreach like this is crucial to keep people alive.
We hear many times when people get up in the middle of the night or out of a house, we ask them, how were you alerted? and they says it was the smoke alarm.
Las Vegas Fire and Rescue says ignoring that chirping smoke detector is a deadly mistake. It means it may not work if a fire breaks out.
The gases given off by the fire actually put you in a deeper sleep, and you won't wake up, and it's due to what we call smoke inhalation.
Beautiful day to save lives.
The Red Cross offered smoke detector installation and fresh batteries for free, a simple device that can save your life.
Tammy Myers' loved ones insist she was protecting her family and that her son is a hero. This after we learned she and her son, who was armed with a gun, went looking for another driver after she had a run-in with him on the road. We heard from that son. We also heard from her teenage daughter, who was also involved in this chain of events which turned deadly.
My mom was protecting me this night, you know. She was doing what every mother would do, is protect her baby.
Crystal Myers' mother, Tammy, was teaching her how to drive on February 12th when things took a turn for the worst. Metro Police say as Tammy was driving home just blocks from the family's house, a driver in this car sped up from behind, cut them off. Crystal reached over and honked the horn. The other driver, shown in this sketch, got out of his car to yell. Tammy drove home but didn't give up.
Unfortunately, I can't ask Tammy what was in her mind at the time of her actions.
Lieutenant Ray Steiber says she told Crystal to get her 22-year-old brother. He was armed with a gun, and the mother and son went searching for the other driver. They found him, followed him, then went to return home. The other driver showed up. Someone in that car opened fire and shot Tammy. Her son fired back. The other car took off.
I did what I had to do to protect my family. Everyone can think what they have to think. I did it for a reason. And I do it for anyone I love.
Tammy died 2 days later. At this vigil Tuesday night,
Tammy.
the family gave their side of the story.
She didn't go out on a hunt like they said. She took her daughter home to safety. She got her son. She took the chaos away from her home like any mother would.
Metro Police say there is a victim at the center of this road rage incident turned homicide.
It's our job and it's our obligation as a community and a law enforcement organization to ensure that everyone is safe, regardless of what our personal opinions are on certain people's actions.
When people are panicked, things happen, you know, and not always the right things to do, if I could say it that way. But, you know, sometimes, you know, emotions get ahead of what you should do, you know, and I think that there might be a case of that.
Bob Myers was out of town when his wife was killed, but he insists his son is a hero.
And if I can make some kind of medal right now, I'd do it.
He says now it's time for healing.
And I just want to say to my wife, I love you, baby, and I'll miss you. That's it.
Metro Police say at this point there is no known suspect, but that other car involved may be a silver or gray four-door sedan. Did you ever sell marijuana or any marijuana products?
Never. Never sold anything to anybody. Wouldn't even think of it.
Here's what police say they found at Stephen Ficano's home. 67 marijuana plants, about 24 pounds of marijuana like this, 26 guns, and nearly $52,000 in cash.
What would you say to people who watch this who think there is no way this man was not dealing drugs because he had so much pot at his home?
Mm-hmm. No, I'd be the first to admit I had a lot of marijuana, yes. It takes a lot to make the medications.
The 65-year-old man is a medical marijuana patient. He says he has back problems and arthritis and has struggled with addiction to painkillers. And since he doesn't want to smoke marijuana, he uses the plant to make butter for edibles.
You have to understand, I might have started with a pile way up here, but by the time I'm done, I have this left. And hopefully it's going to last me until next year, until I can plant again.
Police knocked on Ficano's door in October of 2012 after watching him grow marijuana openly in his backyard. He let them in. They searched the place, took his drugs, money, and guns, and arrested him. He says most of the guns were handed down from his father. He kept cash at home after the economy tanked, and he had a doctor's note for the large quantity of drugs.
Their response was, sorry, Steve, the state says 7 plants. waiver doesn't mean anything.
As the arrest report states, at that time, medical marijuana patients in Nevada, by law, could have up to 7 plants and an ounce of finished marijuana.
Did you think this waiver would protect him from an arrest?
Well, it was never in my wildest imagination could I conceive that they would take a 65-year-old guy and drag him through this legal nightmare.
Dr. Ivan Goldsmith gave Ficano this waiver, stating for his condition he needed more of the drug, up to 21 plants a growing cycle, and 24 pounds of usable marijuana based on a 3-month harvest cycle.
You know, I have to make a snap judgment on these patients. But I would say 99% of the people I've given either a waiver or a recommendation to, they're not in the business or intent to sell.
So what says that the waiver holds any weight?
Well, you're technically in this gray area, whether or not the waiver holds any weight. It's the physician's word against the government's word.
Goldsmith says the law prevents him from giving medical marijuana patients like Ficano more advice.
My job's to be the dumb doctor sitting there making the recommendation.
The Clark County District Attorney released this statement to 8 News Now about Ficano's case, which says in part, a medical waiver does not absolutely relieve a medical marijuana cardholder from legal responsibility. It is not an absolute defense. Goldsmith says he hasn't stopped giving patients waivers.
But why still write the waivers if this could happen?
Life is full of problems.
About 2.5 years after Ficano's arrest, a jury found him not guilty.
It was very emotional.
He says he's still growing medical marijuana, but he's sticking to the current legal limit of 12 plants.
They wanted to crucify me for what I did, because I tried to help myself in a different way.
I don't think people have any clue how civil forfeiture works until they're involved in it, and then they can't believe it works this way.
Attorney Dustin Marcello represents Stephen Ficano, a medical marijuana patient slapped with 2 felony drug charges until a jury found him not guilty in May. But 2 months later, police still have Ficano's guns.
I want to go on with my life.
In October of 2012, police showed up at Ficano's home after watching him grow marijuana openly in his backyard.
You were just like, come on in.
Come on in, guys.
Why?
I have nothing to hide.
That's a decision he regrets. Police say they found 67 plants, 24 pounds of finished marijuana, 26 guns, and nearly $52,000 in cash. They took all of it.
It was just crazy.
The 65-year-old says he makes edibles, which requires large quantities of marijuana. He had a doctor's note stating he needed more than the legal amount. But the Clark County District Attorney says that's not an absolute defense. Ficano tells us the guns are mostly collectibles from his father, the money he withdrew from the bank when the economy tanked.
It is my belief that he was charged solely to try to forfeit his money and his property.
In a statement, the Clark County District Attorney explained a plea bargain offer, saying his office would have dismissed the criminal case if Ficano received diversionary treatment and gave up his money and weapons.
Any resolution would have involved him forfeiting at least half of his property.
And he refused.
And he said, I don't think that I did anything wrong. I'm not forfeiting my property.
We contacted Metro Police to find out more about seized property. A spokesman says in 2013, the department took in more than $2.2 million. In 2014, more than $1.8 million. According to state law, the school district gets 70% of any money remaining in an account at the end of the fiscal year. Police keep 30%.
This is a source of revenue for police departments nationwide.
After the verdict, Ficano was given his money back. In his statement, the district attorney wrote, his office quickly entered into a stipulation which allowed for the return of all property, and it is his understanding Metro has its own policies to the release of firearms, and the decision to release Mr. Ficano's weapons lies with Metro.
I'm very concerned about the condition of them.
Ficano may not get his guns back after all. A Metro Police spokesman points to this federal law. A person who is an unlawful user or is addicted to a controlled substance is prohibited from owning firearms. Since medical marijuana is not recognized federally, Ficano could fit into this category. But for now, the guns are still being processed by Metro Police.
All I want is my property back. That's all I want.